A Stranger Stayed Overnight in a Storm by First Breath 1. Matt, do you hear that? Someone's knocking at the door. I sat up and checked the watch on my dresser. 2:15 a.m. The wind has a way of making the most innocent sound suspicious. A tapping at the window could be nothing more than an exposed branch. A scraping in the ceiling could be something stuck on the roof. A pounding at the door, well, that could mean a number of things. Busted pipes, exposed air ducts, even something as innocent as a front door ornament getting a little too ornery. We've all had that one happen before. But as I listened for traces of movement in the night, I knew my wife had to be right. 3 dramatically clear knocks again echoed down the hallway of our small home. What do they want? Who is it? It's 2 in the friggin' morning, Em whispered. I hopped out of bed and threw on some basketball shorts in the dark. The lights were out, I flicked a switch by my bed, a nightstand a few times, and nothing responded. I grunted, then yowled a bit after stepping on a cat toy. Emily scolded me for that. Quiet, now he knows we're home. 3 more consistent knocks seemed to confirm her theory. How do you know it's a he? I whispered with a smile. It was a shameless little game I played to make her scared. We had been through this routine fairly often in the past few weeks. Em was always hearing things in the night, ever since we moved, and I was the investigator, with my trusty Louisville slugger from high school by my side. I never found anything, but my looking always made her feel better. Our new house in the country tended to set my wife a bit on edge. 3 more knocks. They sounded hurried now. I stumbled into the living room, still aching from my bumped toe, and reached for my trusty Louisville slugger's waiting spot behind the couch. The knocks began to lose all rhythm at all. The owner pounded the door anxiously, apparently losing patience before his angry footsteps retreated down the porch. I waited a moment, then I opened the door. The storm had added several inches of snow overnight. The wind pushed it right into my face. We had heard about the terrible traffic on the parkway. Commuters had been stuck for hours. People had actually abandoned their cars, instead opting to walk home and get them later. The local road that led to my house was left unblemished by plows or tires. Only a single pair of footprints led from the highway a few miles away, all the way to our front door. Standing at the end of them, and at the bottom of my front steps, was an ordinary-looking man. I couldn't see most of his features at first. He wore a heavy black parka with a dorky feathered hood on top. Shielding his head from the wind, dark snow pants covered a pair of pristine tan Timberland-like boots. Something about the outfit looked familiar. The man appeared ready to give up and go away as he fumbled for something in his pockets. But I called out to him. I don't know why. Maybe I felt more confident with the bat at my side. "Can I help you?" The stranger turned at once in relief. He looked middle-aged. Dark hair peeked through the hood, dangled in front of his cold blue eyes. He hopped up the steps immediately and reached out to shake my hand. When he spoke, his voice sounded oddly high-pitched. His breath and coat stunk of an unfamiliar type of old man cologne. "Oh, thank God for the Good Samaritan. Sir, my car broke down the highway a few miles from here. The engine is dead. My cell phone is out of battery. Fucking technology, right? I am from out of town and I don't know my ass from a back road out here. I know it's late and I know how this must look, but would you mind if I stepped inside and used your phone?" I looked the man up and down uneasily. He seemed harmless enough, but if my older brother taught me one thing, it's don't trust strange men in your house after hours. I tried to think of a way to let the stranger down easily. Instead, I opted for the truth. "Our phone is dead. The power is out here. Sorry about that." He looked wounded, and that definitely stung my conscience a bit. He turned to stare helplessly at the acres of empty, untouched snow before him. 7 or 8 inches had stacked up in some places. The plows were nowhere to be seen. The town was almost always woefully unprepared for unsuspecting storms. The man's lack of options quickly became apparent. "Okay, I guess I better get walking." I felt a brush of satin before my wife appeared by my side. "You could stay here a bit, sir, until the power comes back?" I pushed the door back a bit and angrily whispered at Emily. "What are you doing? We don't know this man." "So what? He's stuck. It's all over Facebook. The highway is still backed up. This is something my dad would do. Sneak out of the house during a storm to get some fast food or something. Plus, you heard him. We're the Good Samaritans, just like the Bible." Great. Somebody started to take church a little too seriously. I tried to disguise my groan before throwing the door back open. So, how about it? You can sleep on the couch until morning if you like. The man nodded graciously as he pushed himself past me. He immediately began pulling off waterlogged clothing in our hallway. Upon closer inspection, all of it appeared to be about 3 sizes too small. I thought nothing of it at the time. I will go throw this in the dryer, Emily offered. I'll run it when the power comes back. She disappeared down the stairs as the man made himself comfortable on my couch. He pulled out an old cell phone and stared down at it in surprise. Got a towel? He asked me, pointing to the sopping mess accumulating on our wood floors. Or some clothes? I ran into the bathroom to search for a spare towel. Something about the man's arrogance annoyed me. Here we are, allowing him into our home in the middle of the night without suspicion, and he was already barking orders. I found an old rag buried under a basket, filled with mascara. I pulled it loose. When I came back outside, the stranger had stretched his long legs out fully on our couch. You know, that's a pretty sweet wife you got there. He giggled as I wiped up the mess. Pretty sweet indeed. I wish I had one that sweet. The words made my skin crawl. Emily waltzed up from the basement in a hurry and smiled happily to both of us in the living room. Sorry about that. Hopefully the power comes back soon. I wanted to say something to her, but not in front of the creep. He stared at her like a dog, eyeing a brand new bone. I suddenly noticed the shorts she was wearing. I noticed the lack of a bra. We were just in bed after all. The stranger seemed to notice too. Say, honey, do you work out a lot? He asked. My wife blushed, covering herself up apologetically. She was always looking for the best in people. She had had her fair share of inappropriate jokes in the day. Oh, I should put something on. Excuse me. I moved to follow her into the bedroom as a familiar jingle danced its way towards the couch. Oh, look at that. You've got yourself a fat cat. My tuxedo kitten, Figaro. He hopped happily onto the couch and into the man's outstretched arms. He purred at the attention from such a new and strange company. The man happily allowed his face to be licked and pawed. He reached out and snatched Fig up in his burly arms. Yeah, he's a good boy, I explained awkwardly. Loves attention. The man smiled a toothy grin in my direction as he offered generous pecks to Figaro's confused forehead. Oh, they all do. They all do. You know they say some cats are one of the only animals to prefer human interaction to food? They tested it in some lab somewhere. Fuck if I know. But trust of a man is built into most house cats' basic instincts. Through years of selective breeding, most of these things trust us implicitly. Isn't that something? I nodded and said nothing. Something about the way he squeezed Figaro close to him made me uncomfortable. You know, I could snap this little shit's neck right now, and he'd let me do it. That did it. I'm sorry if this is rude, but I think you should leave. The stranger blinked at me. The atmosphere in the living room changed in an instant. A moment's hesitation caused Figaro to hiss and jump through his weakened grip. The bell ringing disappeared down the stairs. Well, that doesn't seem very Christian of you. I grabbed the bat still sitting against my front door. Yeah, well, we're Catholic. My wife called out of the bedroom. Matt, is everything all right? I shouted my reply without ever taking my eyes off the stranger in front of me. Stay in the bedroom and lock the door. He got to his feet lazily. He was smiling. Like the threat of me holding a bat amused him. Maybe that wasn't such a bad assertion. At his full height, the stranger stood well over 6 feet tall. Easily dwarfed my scrawny 5'10". Yes, Emily, stay in bed. I'll be done with your husband shortly. He advanced in a flash, and so I swung the bat like it was an instinct of my own. My brother always told me, if you ever get into a fight with a bigger man, aim for the knees. And so I did exactly that. I leaned the small cylinder of wood directly across the stranger's kneecaps like my life depended on it. I think it did. The stranger's knees shattered like a piece of glass. Later, Emily said she could hear the impact from our bedroom. My next blow went to his face. A double tap, if you will. I grabbed the jerk by his collar and immediately dragged him the fuck out of my house. I left him on our porch and locked the door. I joined Emily in the additionally locked bedroom as she frantically described our situation to dispatch on her now working cell phone. Officers were making their way towards our house, but the snow impeded their travel. We heard someone dragging themselves up the steps. We heard him try to jimmy the door handle. After several unsuccessful attempts, he screamed at us through the night, and then went quiet. I stood with my bat against my shoulder and waited for him to come back, but it never came to that. You might think I overreacted, but I assure you, I didn't. Police officers swarmed my house approximately an hour later. They found the stranger unconscious by the front porch of our home. We described the entire situation to the detectives exactly as I have here, word for word. The man was arrested and processed accordingly. A few hours later, additional officers were sent to check on my neighbors. It was routine activity. They wanted to see if they could garner more witnesses. What they found precluded that necessity. The stranger had made a previous stop that night. 2 miles down the road sat a nice family, husband, wife, 2 young daughters around my sister's age. One of them worked at the local coffee shop. We met her a handful of times. The other was studying for grad school. They were murdered inside their own home, every single last one of them. Mom, dad, and daughters. The stranger left 4 bodies untouched, sitting and waiting by the front door. The only items missing from the household were the daughters' snow clothes, a black parka, dark pants, and tan Timberland boots. Guys, this is me trying something new. If you like it, leave a like, leave a comment, share it out on Twitter, post it around, but absolutely make sure you go to the 2 links in the description and go give the author some love. The link to the original post and the subreddit will be down below. All the normal stuff if you want to support me, Streamlabs, Patreon, all that nonsense, guys. Thank you for listening.